You're gonna wake up. You're gonna wake up. Gonna wake up and realize it's not meant to be. You stumble in the darkness. You close your eyes, guided by the sweet song lullaby. But someday you will wake up. You will wake up from a life of fantasy. Wake up.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to a special edition. It's a Sunday edition of the Boomtown Pod, All Things MMA, and this is an exclusive content only for PAWFC, obviously taking place January 15th. If you missed the announcement, I, of course, have had Clayton Belitsky on. I've also had Alan White on. I've had Charmaine Tweet on. So now, with the executives being on this show, we're also going to get some fighters on here, and that's what today is all about. So I'm looking forward to having a couple of special guests join us in a couple of short minutes. But, of course, this is the Boomtown Pod. We can't do this without our sponsors at the, of course, Saskatchewan Podcast Network, the Mothership Blue Collar Media Group, Stellar Gear, Sandman Boxing System, Connexus Credit Union, and of course, like I said, PAWFC. This is going to be an incredible event coming place January 15th, and we're going to get right into things coming up very quickly. We have a very special guest that's going to be joining us, two of them actually, throughout the podcast. So, I can't wait to dive into that. Obviously, we're going to talk a little bit about what happened last night in, of course, the weirdest boxing match ever that I've ever watched. Last night, of course, taking place was Jake Paul and Tyron Woodley, and oh boy, what a bad fight. Just start to finish, it wasn't anything great at all. A lot of hugging, a lot of breakup, a lot of mutual separation in between it. It was weird. I didn't really see a whole lot from both fighters. Props to, and I will give a ton of props to Jake Paul for that shot that he hit. That was an absolutely incredibly timed punch. Tyron Woodley out cold. As for what I think, I totally think that Tyron Woodley needs to step away from the sport of combat, or more, just combat sports in general. I think his time is up. It's at some point you're done. And after watching last night's event, I was like, oh boy, this isn't going to be very good. And it didn't look good to begin with. I mean, it was rough the whole fight was rough. Jake Paul didn't really prove to me much, to be honest. I still think Tommy Fury will probably be a hard matchup for him when he faces an actual boxer. Of course, Tommy Fury wasn't able to go because of injury. I think that's probably the matchup to make for Jake Paul. Tyron Woodley, I think this is it. 39 years old, not getting any younger by any stretch of the imagination. So with that being said, I don't know where they run it back. Or where Tyron Woodley goes from here. I think he'll probably retire. The guy made a good payday, a couple last good paydays, over $1 million plus. You'd have to think, especially with pay-per-view buys and stuff like that, because there wasn't obviously a whole lot on last night. But there was also a UFC card that took place last night. Derek Lewis obviously winning by knockout. Derek Lewis just continues to flirt with being a number one contender every single time in the heavyweight division. His hands are literally lethal weapons. So, that was a great fight. Ricky Simon had an incredible knockout in there as well. The guy just continues to get better and better as he goes along. I was really, really impressed with his fight last night. But yeah, I will also give props to two legends of other sports last night, because if you were watching that Jake Paul fight card, you would have noticed that Frank Gore and, of course, Deron Williams, who are pro athletes in two different sports, went into the ring last night. And actually, you know what? All things considered, pretty entertaining. They had a lot more punches than I think Woodley and Paul did. I was very, very blown away. Frank Gore, obviously being everybody knows him. He's a Hall of Famer. He's third most rushing yards in NFL history, taking on Deron Williams, who was a former, three-time NBA All-Star point guard. He was, I'll give Williams credit. He had some bombs. He had some good power in his hands. I was actually quite surprised. His counterpunching and his footwork was very, very in top form. And again, Frank Gore, gave up some height, gave up some size for sure. It was pretty noticeable. He was having a hard time trying to get in past Deron Williams' footwork and guard. So I would tell you that was some pretty impressive stuff there. But yeah, nonetheless, decent two events last night. Again, not blown away by the whole Jake Paul thing. Listen, I understand that he beat two MMA or beat Tyron Woodley twice, who is, of course, a former UFC champion. But like, I still really want him to face a boxer. I really do. I'll give Tyron Woodley a ton of credit. He stepped up to the fight 2 weeks' notice, said, "Hey, I'm going to throw down. I'm going to get paid to do so." So I totally understand that situation. But I also don't understand from Tyron Woodley's perspective, like maybe you want a full camp to actually get this thing off and see. He was aggressive to start off the fight. He was a lot more in it, I would say. But I mean, Jake Paul just caught him with a nasty right, and I posted a photo on our social medias. You can see it. It's not to make fun of Tyrone, but like life comes at you quick. I mean, it really, really does. And I have the picture of him knocking out Josh Koscheck, and of course him with the famous plant from last night. I feel horrible for Tyron Woodley. But he seemed, after the fight, he seemed to be in decent spirits. I mean, Mama Woodley, she's an international treasure. We got to cherish her for as long as we have her. But yeah, no, that was a weird card last night, but it was fun. I mean, that's kind of what the Pauls do. They sell fights. He was calling out Nate Diaz after the fight and said, "Why did you leave, bitch boy?" And which is really weird because there's been so much footage of, back or behind the scenes. Logan, his brother, was hanging out with Nate, and they were like throwing it down. It was, I don't know, so weird. But nonetheless, it was a decent card. I mean, anything to do on a Saturday night, watch some boxing, why not? But I really want to see Tommy Fury take on, of course, Jake Paul. I think Tommy Fury is a good matchup for him stylistically. But nonetheless, like I said during this cast, this is about PAWFC, Pasadena Women's Fighting Championship 1. The card's taking place. We are very excited because we finally have a very special guest that's going to be joining me right now. We're going to just bring her onto the stream. Dakota Ditcheva, all the way from a fancy foreign place, and I'll let you do the introduction. How you doing?
I am really well, thank you. Yeah, I'm good.
Good. So where are you fighting out of? So people are aware of this.
Yeah, so I'm coming all the way from the UK to fight in Canada.
It's quite exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Well, with that being said, how excited are you to be coming to Canada to fight for I'm assuming the first time?
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever been, actually. It's one of the places, one of the countries on my list that I've always wanted to fight in. So I'm really lucky to get this opportunity, yeah.
That's going to be a ton of fun. Now, what's a day of training camp for you look like at Manchester Top Team?
Well, we train every morning 10 till 12. So that's our first session in the morning. And then obviously my mum also, she's an instructor. So she has her own gym. At the night time, I normally go there and train at Northern Spirit, that's called. So that's kind of my day. I train in the morning at 10 and then I'm back again around 8 o'clock at night. During the day, I just rest and refuel, and that's what my day looks like really every day.
Oh dear God, that sounds like a lot of gym time.
Yeah, nothing exciting, but I mean, to me, I love it. So you definitely have to love it to do it because it is a lot.
Yeah, no, for some of them or some of the people that are watching this that might not know you, you're undefeated in your last 7. Obviously, you're 3 pros. How do you see this matchup against Tanya Nider going?
I don't know too much about Tanya, if I'm honest. I never really look too much into my opponents. I've never been big on that. I normally leave it to my coaches to have a look and discuss that between themselves. So I don't know that much on her, but I'm just hoping it's going to be a good fight. Just someone that's going to bring it to me. I mean, I always say I'm looking for a bit of cage time. My fights often finish in the early rounds, so hopefully flying all the way over there, I'm going to get a good fight, basically. Yeah.
So I perfectly good answer. Obviously, fighting a Canadian, never really seen a lot of footage of her and all that other stuff. But my question for you is, what made you want to get into mixed martial arts?
I mean, I've grown up around martial arts all my life anyway. My mum, obviously, she's an instructor. She used to be a fighter. She's done kickboxing, Thai boxing, full contact karate. So it's kind of, I always say it's in the blood. That's kind of how I've got into it. I've been around it my whole life. I used to push my little baby Prams around while she was coaching in her gym. So, that's just what I've been involved in forever. And I started off with a Thai boxing career. And then around 3 years ago, I was introduced to MMA and I absolutely loved it. And I just see that more as a career in the future. Thai boxing, I wasn't really sure where that would take me. And this is definitely something I want to do forever. So, or for as long as I can, as I say. So MMA was kind of the direction that I ended up going in.
So with that being said, who were some of your big idols when you were growing up?
I mean, I absolutely loved Ronda Rousey when I was younger. She was a big inspiration of mine. But Shevchenko, she's been on a similar journey to me. She's been, through Thai boxing and then transitioned to MMA. So she's someone I look up to as well.
Yeah, and on the male side, was there any kind of like role models in that aspect?
Not really, just because I obviously always been inspired by my mum as well. Being female and having my mum that fought, that was always kind of something that I've always been inspired by the women in the sport more than the men, really.
I mean, you can be part of history when it's the first one that we have here in Canada. I'm very, very excited for you to be here. For somebody who hasn't maybe watched a Dakota fight, what can they expect out of a Dakota fight?
Oh, do you know what I always say? Just expect the opposite to what I look like. I know I've got a black eye now, but yeah, just I come out very aggressive. You can always expect you can always expect a tough fight from me. Right from the first bell, I'll be out there on the front foot. So just expect a good fight.
So would you consider yourself like a well-rounded fighter, a striker, ground? What's your preference?
I would say I'm more of a striker. That's kind of the background I've come from, and that's kind of what normally happens. I stay on my feet, but that's not to say that I don't know what I'm doing on the floor or anything. It's just that I haven't had my chance to show that. So for now I'll say I'm a striker, but you never know what can come out of the bag on the night.
Yeah, you're saying something about the Muay Thai. So I would tell you, what's the major difference that you would say like that you can kind of bring in from the Muay Thai world into the mixed martial arts world?
I mean, the difference is obviously the cage. I fight in a ring when I do Thai boxing. That's the big difference. But the stand-up wise it is similar. There's a lot of things. Now I'm doing pro, I can still use my elbows, whereas when I was amateur, I got them taken away from me. So I actually prefer fighting pro now than I did amateur, because through my Thai boxing career, I did elbows already.
Right.
But the stand-up styles and things like that, it's kind of transitioned over quite well, apart from the takedowns and stuff like that, keeping my base low and things. I was getting taken down a lot at the start, but I'm kind of getting used to that now.
Are you a good trash talker?
No.
Not a good trash talker.
I'm just going to say no straight away. No, I'm not.
I was going to get you to fire off a promo against Tanya Nijar, but I mean, if you're not a great trash talker...
I'm going to say no for now, but I have been told that I need to practice, because it does take you a long way in this sport at the moment, I think, doesn't it?
Well, there's some loud mouths in the industry, that's for sure. Did you happen to catch the boxing fight last night? I
didn't actually. I watched it when I woke up this morning. I watched the knockout, but I haven't watched the full fight.
Flush hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to see. Maybe is Tommy Fury big down there?
I mean, yeah, I would say everyone knows about him. Yeah, he's quite big.
Yeah, I hope they make that matchup. But I am beyond excited for you to come down to Canada. Have you ever tried a Canadian poutine before?
No.
Oh, this is happening. Oh my goodness. Have you had ketchup chips before?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so when you come in after weigh-in, I'm gonna have stuff ready for you to go, okay?
I will absolutely love that. I will love that.
I mean, probably best to crush some Pedialyte and get some electrolytes back in the system after a weight cut, but I will make sure to get you the good stuff for when you're finished.
Oh, I'm going to hold you to that, so make
Done.
sure you do.
Done. Consider it media day. I'll have it ready for you.
Brilliant.
Awesome. Perfect. Dakota, how can people follow you?
I'm on Instagram, or have an athlete page on Facebook. So if you just type my name, Dakota Ditcheva, into Facebook, or I think I'm Dakota just D on Instagram, you can find me there. It'll come up.
Perfect. Well, we are looking forward to having you at PAWFC 1. I can't wait to meet you in person. Like I said, I'll make sure to have the ketchup chips and the poutine ready to go for you. And if I fail you, you can come back at me on this, and I'll make sure to get it for you.
Okay.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Dakota.
Thank you. See you later.
You betcha. There it is. Dakota joined us, and all the way from the UK. We're looking forward to seeing her come into the octagon. It's going to be a ton of fun. Again, Athena's PAWFC 1 taking place January 15th in Calgary, Alberta. It's going to be a ton of fun. You can catch the event on pay-per-view. All of the description, all of the information that you're going to need, you can check out PAWFC.com. You can also check out all of their social medias. There's going to be a ton of them. A ton of tickets available. I'm telling you right now, I know that the pay-per-view buys are going to start coming in and pretty fast and furious very, very quickly. So I'm really looking forward to that. We had a little meeting with the rest of the crew, and it sounds like it's going to be an entirely amazing event. And I, for one, am about it. As you heard there, she obviously is very prepared for her opponent, Tanya Nidar. We're really looking forward to that matchup. Of course, Tanya being a Canadian on the card as well. Dakota coming from the UK. It's going to be a ton of fun. It's going to be an explosive fight. Again, if you missed the announcement, also during it, there's going to be a couple of things that are happening throughout the night as well. There's going to be a VIP guest that is going to be there. And if you want to get VIP tickets for a meet and greet with her, the one and only Bellator Bantamweight champion, Chris Cyborg. Yes, Chris Cyborg. Like, I don't need to really introduce who she is. She will be there. She'll be signing autographs, taking photos. We're really looking forward to seeing her and meeting her. Obviously, she is a legend, an absolute pioneer of the MMA game. So especially the women's MMA game. Back a couple of years ago, the UFC didn't even have a 145-pound division. They literally built it specifically for her. And she has beaten the who's who, and obviously continues to have an amazing career with Bellator. So I am excited to pick her brain on some things, get to meet her, and ask her about, the fight game and how much it's changed for her, because I can only imagine the differences from then to now. Girls are getting better every single time. You can ask anybody that watches a fight card and they'll tell you that they look forward to the women's fights, and I'm in that category. I look forward to the women's fights more now than I do the men's fights. There's no shot at the guys at all, but like the women's fights have just been so explosive. Realistically, you saw a huge underdog win with Juliana Pena over Amanda Nunes, and that's what keeps us going. That's motivation. Anything can happen in the women's divisions. You have an absolute force with Valentina Shevchenko, Amanda Nunes, Chris Cyborg. Thug Rose Namajunas. There's a ton of names that come to mind. I also want to say congratulations on an amazing career to Claudia Gadelha, who just retired from the UFC and retired from mixed martial arts in general. She always flirted with being in, the top 5 realm. And when she was there, she kind of, want to say didn't get to the full potential, but I always thought she was a great fighter. I'm sure she's going to have a great career outside of the ring. She is a tremendous talent, and we wish her nothing but the best here at Boomtown Pod. And I love that you Dakota alluded to Ronda Rousey being a pioneer of the sport. It sounds like rumors are that she is going to be re-signing with the WWE. Like, she's still under contract, but it sounds like she's going to be coming back, from what I have heard from our sources, that she might be making a return to the World Wrestling Entertainment industry. She was, I think she transitioned quite well when she came into wrestling. So it'll be interesting to see what she does. But yeah, nonetheless, PAWFC 1 is taking place. We are so fired up about it. I'm going to have a special guest coming up in a couple of minutes' time, and I can't wait to have her on here. But of course, Shawna Ram, one of the Canadians that is going to be on this card. This card is, some people have asked me and reached out to me and asked me a couple of questions in regards to how this card is kind of working. They're like, is it just a Canadian card? No, obviously not. We're bringing in a ton of fighters we got people from Brazil. We got obviously Dakota and Kate Rand from the UK that are going to be there. So they're going to be representing their countries. I do believe there's going to be there's an American or two. There's some Canadians. It's definitely a mixed bag of fighters. It's going to be a ton of fun. Again, if you haven't heard, it will be on pay-per-view internationally. So if we have some American friends and friends that are listening to this podcast, which I know we do, a lot of you are, it'd be awesome for you to tune in and see this amazing event. I'm going to be on the commentary table. Beside me will be Ryan Ballantyne, who is, of course, from Big Brother Canada. If you have not seen him, the dude is hilarious. He is a huge sports guy as well, which is absolutely amazing. But not only that will be at our commentary table, we will also have former UFC legend Felicia Spencer beside us during the entire event. So, I am beyond excited to pick her brain. Obviously, she has fought the who's who of the division. She has won multiple fights in the UFC and also fought Amanda Nunes for the title. So it's awesome to see Canada get represented by an amazing woman like her. So I'm excited to have her on board as part of our commentary team. And throughout the night, we're going to have some different guests and stuff like that. And obviously, Alan and Clayton from, of course, management will be popping in and out. So it's going to be an exciting night. It's going to be a ton of fireworks. We're looking forward to this event. I can tell you from behind the scenes perspective, there has been a lot of people trying to make sure this all runs and make sure it runs smoothly. Chris, our production team, and all those other guys, they're going to do a tremendous job. I'm telling you guys, this is an event that you're not going to want to miss in Calgary, January 15th, 2022. I keep saying it. Make sure to pay attention to all the socials because ticket releases are going to be coming up very soon, which is perfect because Christmas. So there's that. And if you want to buy the pay-per-view ahead of time, you can do so by going to the socials and checking it out. I do believe it's active and ready to go now from what I understand of the situation, which is absolutely awesome. And nonetheless, it's going to be an event that, again, there's not too many times where you can actually go in and watch an all women's MMA event. And I'm very happy to be a part of that. Women have been kicking ass and taking names for way too long now. And it's absolutely awesome to see them get the platform that they are and get this kind of going, which is absolutely amazing. When I had Clayton on the show, we really, really talked about, what the focus of women's MMA is. And he is just so pumped about having it be the forefront of this event. And I can tell you confidently from what I understood of the production team and the lights and the camera work and everything that's going into this event, it is going to be one of the best events in Canadian MMA history. I'm confident in saying that. Again, some amazing guests going to be joining us. Chris Cyborg, like I said, Felicia Spencer, and even some of these fighters. You got a legendary name who's going to be fighting for the title at our main event in Sarah Kaufman, who is, I didn't even dwell into her career yet, but she is one of the pioneer goats when it comes to MMA, or women's MMA, respectively. But Sarah brings a lot to the table, and we are so excited to have her represent Canada. And by all things that I've been seeing on her socials, she is ready for this fight. She's ready to win the title. She is preparing for an absolute war. Saw her in the sweatsuit, cutting weight, getting ready to get in shape for this. Obviously, a couple weeks out, this is where fighters start to, get pretty strict with diet and getting into the regime of things. And I'm telling you right now, she is Sarah Kaufman is a force, a former Strikeforce champion herself, obviously a UFC legend, and has dabbled in PFL as well. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how she does in the main event. She is going to be fighting. And I think, I would say that some betting odds might have her as a favorite. I don't know. I'm just really looking forward to meeting her and seeing how she has prepared for this. We tried to bring her on for this week, and I just don't think she had the time. She runs a class as well. So she was doing some of the training with her students and stuff like that, but we will definitely try to get her on here as well. I know that coming up in the future, we're going to have Charmaine Tweet back on here. You guys loved her. She was great. We're really hoping to have Felicia Spencer on here in the upcoming weeks. And again, like anytime that you get to sit there and talk to somebody who's a pioneer of the game and get to listen to somebody who, brought Canadian MMA, women's MMA to the forefront, it's going to be amazing because she has had an amazing run and an amazing career in of course the UFC. There's been numerous cards where she's been a headliner, so I'm really looking forward to picking her brain about what it takes to be a champ, what it takes to fight the best in the division. And let's face it, she fought Amanda Nunes, and Amanda Nunes is whether she lost, she obviously lost the last fight, but she's still one of the best to do it no matter what, right? So like I said, coming up in a couple of minutes time, we're going to have Shawna Ram join us. She is going to be fighting on the card as well at PAWFC 1. She is one of the Canadians on the card, which is awesome. She is she's pretty awesome. She's a great gal. Apparently, from what I was told, she's going to be live from basically a doctor's office, I do believe. Her son might have popped his arm out, so we're just waiting on her if she is able to join us. I'm hoping so. But yeah, nonetheless, Shawna Ram will be joining us, and of course, she fights out of Clinch MMA and Fitness, and it's going to be interesting interesting to see her take on her opponent as well. If you guys have any questions or anything while you're watching this, man, fire away about last night's events. Maybe we can talk a little about what happened in the Jake Paul fight, what your guys' thoughts are on who Jake Paul should probably fight next. There's some intriguing matchups that happened afterwards. I mean, there was obviously some clear-cut guys that he targeted out right off the interview with Jorge Masvidal and Nate Diaz in particular. And he wants, he called him Daddy Dana White to release him from his contracts. I mean, Jake Paul's so cringe, but he just knows. I'm telling you, he knows how to sell fights. That's why he is where he is. I don't know what general direction to take this guy with next. I agree with Dakota. Tommy's a big name in the UK, and I really hope, obviously, we all know who Tommy's brother is, the world heavyweight champion of, the world in Tyson Fury. So he's got a great camp. Justin commenting saying, I see Jake fighting Masvidal next. Now, I could see that too, because I think both guys obviously make a tremendously huge payday. My only concern is that Dana White won't release Masvidal to have that fight. And then Masvidal, people might know this, but he runs his own fight corporation. So, I mean, I don't know what the justifications are, how they kind of run that, to be honest. I have no idea, but I agree with you. I would really like to see Jake Paul versus Jorge Masvidal. We all know that Jorge has some, he's got some blessed up in those hands, like he says. Street Jesus. He's been quiet since getting knocked out by Kamaru Usman. But again, he runs his own corporation, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to happen. And while I have a second here, I just want to address this. I posted it up on our Facebook page last night. Eagle FC obviously is a promotion. Khabib Nurmagomedov is now taking reins of that, kind of his corporation. And he said there's just something that really, really bugged me. He did say that women's MMA, there's only about 4 names. That's a joke, dude. That's an absolute joke. And I think the way that he worded that, he could have done so much better. But welcome to being, like Dana said the other night, welcome to being a promoter, man. It's not an easy job, but you got to watch your mouth when you say some stuff, because I think there's some of the most badass women that are even going to be on this card or that are joining us. And they're not just names, man. They're people who have put tons of work and tons of time into their careers to make themselves better, to put themselves in the front line. When you say there's only 4 names, that's a joke. And Khabib Nurmagomedov, I would never fight you, ever, obviously. But I would tell you right now, that is an absolute travesty to say something like that, because there are women that are, all over these things that have some crazy, amazing skills and talents and stuff like that too. And I just think it's a joke that you would even say that. It upset me a ton, and that's why I'm kind of venting as it is, because women's MMA has come so far, and for you to try to bash it like that, I think is an absolute travesty and an absolute joke. So I hope Eagle FC never gets women, because they don't deserve it. At that point, sorry, it's real life, and I do not care if people don't like my take on that. This is my platform. This is me telling you, I do not agree with what he said. He also made a really sly comment about ring card girls, if we can't recall, a couple of months ago. And everybody was kind of taken back at that point. And I was like, I don't know what to think about this whole situation, because realistically, man, like, ring card girls, Ariane Celeste has been with the company, with the UFC, for I don't know how many years, and she's a staple of that. Like, she is a staple of the UFC. If people talk about ring girls, they always bring her up, right? Even Brittany Palmer. I mean, those are a couple other names. But like, just to disrespect people like that, I mean, he's got no say. Everybody calls him the GOAT. I think he had an incredible career. I really, really do. But the way he's been handling himself in the media afterwards is just kind of, I don't know. I don't know what the right terminology is. I don't want to, find him in a back alley someday and him beat the shit out of me. But I would tell you that it was pretty disrespectful for him to bash women's MMA the way he did yesterday. So I'm taking a stand, because I am, again, first and foremost, a supporter of women's MMA. I'm a supporter of women. I just, saying that shit is so 2000 and like, or not even 2000. It's like so 1990s, like, women don't belong here. That's a joke. That's an absolute joke. They do belong. Hell, they even main event fight cards these days, dude. And I would tell you, like I said, a majority of the women fighting are better than the dudes. That's a real life thing. So I mean, yeah, take it for what you will with those comments. Justin saying he's Russian. I mean, I don't know. It's a horrible thing to say, but I mean, I don't understand it. Maybe that's my rant for the day, but he him saying that straight up just irritated the hell out of me, and I think that that was a pathetic comment on his part. um and all the girls that are watching this, and of course we're getting ready, like I said, for PAWFC 1, which is an all women's MMA group. We're an organization that clearly supports women, and for him to say comments like that, I just got rubbed the very wrong way. But all the best to Eagle FC. I mean, whatever he does with his promotion, they just signed a washed up Kevin Lee at 165 pounds. He's reaching out to Dustin Poirier, who just got rinsed in his last fight. I mean, I like Dustin Poirier. Obviously, he lost to Charles Oliveira. We've recapped that enough. I really don't have much to say about that, but I don't think he's ever going to go join Eagle FC because Dana White has made him a celebrity. I mean, Dustin Poirier's story is incredible. I mean, he is an incredible dude, and I hope one day I get to meet him and, you know, shoot the breeze with him at some point. So, but nonetheless, yeah, like I said, coming up, we do have Shawna Ram. She will be in here, I'm hoping, somewhat soon. She is, of course, fighting at PAWFC 1. Again, she's fighting out of Clinch MMA. We're going to talk a little bit about that and some other great things. Thank you for the comment, Justin. I see Jake fighting Masvidal next. Yeah, I'd probably say that happens too. But yeah, nonetheless, guys, we're not too far away from having her on here. At least I'm hoping. But if you haven't yet, go to our socials, pawfc.com. Check it out. It's pretty damn cool. It's a really cool website. You can find all of the information on there. You can also, their Instagram is incredible. So make sure to follow their Instagram at PAWFC. You're going to hear all of the announcements when it comes down to the fight card selection, when it comes down to what's going on with the fighters, who we have as a main event and co-main event. Like I've said, you'll see her in there in the co-main already. So yeah, no, it's going to be a tremendous event, pay-per-view. I'm nervous as hell to be going on internationally. So with that being said, yeah, I'm kind of a little nervous. Your boy's never done any pay-per-views by any stretch of the imagination. I've been on radio. We all know that. I do this. That's my form of media. You know, like they say, a face for radio. That's definitely what I got. What's your thoughts on McGregor? Well, we got some time. The guy looks huge right now. Absolutely. I don't know what's going on over there. I think realistically, he's going to fight at 170. I think he's going to become a welterweight here, which would be insane. I probably think he walks around at 190 right now. He looks yoked. He just looks massive. I don't know if it's all natural or not. McGregor fast, am I right? But nonetheless, he does look big. He looks like he's ready to go. I hope that leg is healed quite well. I haven't seen much training footage of him at all. I've just seen a lot of, like, obviously his workout regimen and stuff like that. I think that's probably a really hard leg injury to come back from. It's been a couple months now, so maybe he started that rehab on it now. It's his planting foot, so I could imagine that it's a lot of rehab. I foresee McGregor coming back, and I would like to see him at 172. I mean, I want to see him fight at welterweight. I mean, he's short. That could be an issue, but he does look big. He does fight comfortably at 155, as we all know. He has fought at 145. It's crazy to think he was 145 and a 155 division pound winner and title holder at the same time, which now is just like a foregone thing of the past. But I listen, for all intents and purposes, I do hope Conor McGregor comes back and he wins some fights, because the UFC is better when he wins. He is their cash cow. He gets them a ton of money. He's a businessman. He's a smart dude. Everybody thinks he's crazy. I also think he's crazy, but you can't doubt and say anything less about how good he is as a businessman. He can run anything. Like, I mean, proper whiskey did so well, and it's not even that great. Sorry, Connor. It's not that great. I think we're having some connection issues when it comes to having Sarah Ram come on. So with that being said, we're going to try to schedule her in this week coming up, and we'll go from there. But nonetheless, I hope her son's okay. I know that they were at the hospital. You're putting her son's arm, I think, back into place. So, yeesh, that's a little scary. But nonetheless, we're going to try to get her on here. Thank you to Dakota for joining us today and recapping and getting us excited for her event taking place against Tanya Nidar at PAWFC 1. If you have not got your tickets yet, they are going to be for sale very, very shortly. Like I said, make sure to follow their Instagram, their pages, all that other stuff. Oh, she's trying to log on now. Charmaine Tweet, the executive who runs all this stuff. So maybe we'll hold tight. I was just about to do the sign off, but nonetheless, if she's trying to log in right now, we will try to get in here as soon as possible. Thank you to Charmaine, who of course is one of the women who will be a part of the company. Oh, she is a part of the company. She's going to be a part of the overall production. That was the P word I'm looking for. And she's going to be doing a lot of in-ring stuff. Helping with the girls like she already has. My brother commenting, is Jake Paul a real boxer yet? After seeing that right hand, I'm going to go with yes, but he needs to fight Tommy Fury in order to make that happen. With that being said, I do believe, oh, look at this. This is here. Our special guest, Shawna Ram. How you doing, Shawna?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I heard there might have been a little bit of an accident with the sun today.
Well, no, he broke his elbow back on Halloween, like the day before Halloween. So we're just at the physio right now.
Oh no.
So he does physio, just like trying to get his range of motion back. But it's good because like a chiropractor here, he's one of my training partners. So he like hooks me up with the normal.
Got the Starbucks and getting fixed.
Starbucks. Oh man, I didn't go to sleep till like 4 a.m. I got home from work. So I'm on Teams.
Mom life. It comes at you quick.
Mom life, that's right.
Well, that being said, transitioning from mom to MMA professional, when did you know you wanted to do this professionally?
You know what? Sorry, I'm just gonna turn my mic up. It's just something that kind of happened organically, like after I gave birth. My husband's always been into it, like so he's always had like fighters, and I've always kind of been around it. And then I had my kids, and I just wanted to. It started as like just getting in shape, and then it just kind of like transitioned to like what it is now. It's not something that like I came in the gym and I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. It's just something that happened organically, and I really feel like that was like the best path for me, like the best journey, because it wasn't so much pressure.
Right.
Yeah.
And easier for you to transition that way too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and being well versed in the sport, like you said, the husband's watching it or being a part of it. Now you're like, hey, all right, I could probably do this.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, and it happened like gradually. Like I said, I was, I started getting in shape, and I was doing like fitness shows. And then what happened was we lived quite a ways away from our gym in Burnaby, which is about like 45 minutes from where we lived. So of course, having 2 kids under 5, like I couldn't go in and train.
Right.
So when we moved the gym to relatively more closer to where we lived, and it was around the time my son was kind of going into kindergarten, that's when I really started, going back and forth and training. And then like one training session turned into like 4 training sessions a day. And then I just became addicted.
Yeah.
So,
as most fighters would tell you, it's very addicting.
It is addicting. It is. I love it. I love the rush that it gives me, for sure. And the confidence. Really, that's
sure.
really what, like the most that it's given me is the confidence.
Right.
Like I'm not afraid to come home at like 3 o'clock, in the morning, downtown Vancouver, and like walk like, I kind of like walk slower because I'm like, not really inviting it, but hey,
try me. So with that being said, how is camp? You were talking about camp being switched. You're at Clinch MMA, correct?
Yes, I am.
And how's that transition been between different gyms now, and how has the journey been with them?
Oh, it's always been Clinch MMA. It's just the location had moved.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like it's mine and my husband's gym. Like he's like the main instructor. I do like the admin side, so it's kind of like a like we're like a tag team.
Yeah. So how has the camp been for or preparation for this fight?
Well, I kind of knew that I wanted to fight and get back into it because I have taken quite a while off. So it and I never stopped training. So it's like something that I never stopped learning. So it's kind of just something that I just flew right into. I did get sick. Like I was sick for like the first like I don't know, maybe month and a half after we knew that I'm gonna fight for sure. So that was a little bit difficult mentally, but I was able to like push through it and still get my training in. And I would think that this camp has actually, aside from getting sick, has actually relatively went fairly so. Like my mental game, being off for so long, it it kind of gave me the break mentally to just kind of like see what's going on. Like I like to say, like to my training partners, I was like, like a super aggressive savage before, but now I'm kind of like a Zen savage. Like I kind of like see everything, and I don't get in my mind, like in my head too much. I just kind of go with the flow.
I'm at peace, but yet I can knock your ass out.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it. So obviously everybody knows January 15th, 2022, Calgary, Alberta, PAWFC 1. How cool is it to be a Canadian fighter on a Canadian card?
Yeah, you know what? I've been hyping this up to everyone. I think this is like the greatest opportunity and like a really cool platform, like the first Canadian all women fight league. Like that's something that I definitely when I saw this, I think it was back in like early summer, like June, July. I was like,
right.
I have to get on this. This is like everything about female empowerment and like just everything that, like, because we can do it, it doesn't have to be like filled up. We, females can do it. We can, and I'm just really excited to be part of it.
Yeah, when initially then I was reached out to by Charmaine Tweet, she was like, hey, and I've always been a huge supporter of her career because we grew up, like I used to coach her son's hockey, for crying out loud.
Okay.
But what I used to say, like I've always tried to push her career, and I always tried to push women's MMA, and it always seemed like everybody was like, wow, those are the fights that kick off the card. And now women are badass in headlining events.
Yeah, totally. It's gonna be awesome. I think that this is gonna be a great thing.
Yeah, and I'm obviously all aboard. I cannot wait to see what you guys bring to the Octagon. I think it's going to be a ton of fun. Charmaine saying we're excited to have you be a part of this event. Couldn't agree more, Charmaine. Absolutely.
Awesome.
She's great. We absolutely love her. With that being said, do you see any matchup holes in your opponent when you're facing Alessandra Ferreira?
I mean, okay, so the thing is, like I said earlier, I try not to get too carried away because, like, mentally, I feel like if I just keep going back and forth, I'm not going to be able to sleep. I'm not going to be able to carry on with my life. My coach becomes obsessed. So you're damn right. You're damn sure that my coach has looked through everything. And when I talk about everything, like he does not sleep at night because he becomes obsessed. That's why, he doesn't really want to have fighters anymore because he's got so many things going on because he becomes obsessed in the fight. And we know that she's an active fighter. She's been, fighting. And originally I thought maybe, okay, give me somebody that has a little bit more like, time off or, like a record that's maybe like closer to mine.
Right.
But then we watched the footage. We watched her opponent's footage. And I think it's a fairly good stylistically. I think it's a fairly good matchup. She's young and she is, she's been trained. She's active. So I think that, as far as holes go, she's got like good stand up, good ground. She's probably got cardio. I just think it's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, I looked at this on paper too, and I was like, oh, that's a really intriguing matchup because obviously, how would you describe if somebody's never seen you fight before? What do you bring to the table? Like, what's your strength?
I kind of like to consider myself like a full athlete, like an overall MMA fighter.
Right.
Like obviously I feel like I do a lot of jiu-jitsu, but I also do a lot of stand up, and I think my jiu-jitsu is probably like my strongest point for sure. But that being said, like I'm fairly comfortable in anywhere. And I'm like the type of person like you can't break me,
Right.
like I will literally my leg will be falling off. You can't break me.
And we see how well rested those legs are right now.
I gave birth to 2 children, okay? Like I have a warrior spirit.
I think that's a lot of the women that I have talked to that have been in this organ or even just in MMA in general. All of them are like, listen, dude, I have had children. I can whoop anyone's ass. And that is very valid.
Yeah, it's true. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get into particulars about my labor, but I'm a fucking G.
Flexing. I love it. But nonetheless, with that being said, we're looking completely forward to your matchup against, like we said, Alessandra Ferreira. With that being said, Shawna, where can people follow you?
My Instagram. Usually, I'm fairly active on Instagram. So my Instagram is Shawna the Jungly Ram.
I like that.
Thank you.
That's
Well,
super
jungly.
creative.
A lot of people think it's like jungle with an extra e, but it's actually jungly. And how that came about was my sister-in-law. She used to say that I walked like an elephant, and so I was just slamming doors and just aggressive with my movement, really loud. I'm always loud. So that's how that came about.
That's a sweet. I love it. That's a really good Instagram.
It means untamed. So
there's two things I've learned. She is tame, but not tame all at the same time.
well, I'm a Gemini. So
As the kids say less, fam. Say
Yes.
less. Nonetheless, thank you, Shawna, so much for joining us. And I personally cannot wait to meet you. And we'll hopefully get you on our Facebook Live when we're out there for the event.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have
Cheers,
a good
Shawna.
Sunday.
Well, there it is. That was Shawna Ram that joined us. Man, she is pumped up for this fight. I'm excited to have her aboard. We are so pumped. Obviously, this is taking place January 15th. It's a couple weeks away, which is tremendous in Calgary, Alberta. Again, like if you haven't yet, make sure to go get the pay-per-view. If you go follow their socials, it'll give you all the information on how to purchase the pay-per-view. It is live internationally. You can watch it everywhere. Like I said, we got fighters from Brazil, Canada, the States, and you name it, they're everywhere. So I'm very, the UK, shout out to Dakota, Ditcheva, who was on beforehand. Shawna joining us now. Again, if you guys want to follow us, you can do so where the bottom ticker says the Boomtown Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also see us on SASPodNetwork.com. Tickets, as Charmaine is saying, will be available soon. We cannot wait. With that being said, enjoy your this will probably be my last podcast before the holidays, so I hope you guys have a great Christmas season, and I hope you guys enjoy the time with your loved ones, and thank you for making it a absolutely tremendous year for us here at the Boomtown.